Sex abuse allegations surround an MSU sports medicine doctor who has treated some of the biggest names in women's gymnastics. However, no one from the university has faced questions about the scandal.
But that all changes tonight as one top MSU official sits down with 7 investigator Ross Jones. And Ross is here now with the interview you're going to see only here on 7. Ross.
Carolyn, Curtis, good evening. Larry Nassar is a con man. Those are the words of a longtime Michigan State trustee who says the gymnastics doctor would have abused patients regardless of where he worked. But his accusers say there were plenty of warning signs that should have tipped off MSU to his conduct years ago.
A doctor should be trusted like a priest, a pastor. You can't blame yourself. I was there, and I have guilt because I was there, but I know it's not my fault.
Some at Michigan State University would have you believe the pain their former employee Larry Nassar was accused of inflicting is his fault alone. But over the last several weeks, evidence has steadily mounted, suggesting that MSU could or should have known about Nassar's alleged abuses years before they finally came to light.
Justice isn't just prosecuting Dr. Nassar. Justice is also prosecuting the people that enabled us.
Okemos attorney Mick Graywall represents more than 20 women and girls who say Nassar sexually assaulted them.
Well, I think gymnasts were the perfect prey. He used his fingers to go into intimate areas, saying that it was going to relieve my back pain.
Larissa Boyce is one of 3 alleged whistleblowers who say they told longtime MSU gymnastics coach Kathy Klages about Nassar's assaults as far back as 1997. Through her attorney, Klages denies the allegations and says she would never do anything to put any gymnasts in harm's way.
So far, have you seen or heard anything that would suggest to you that anyone at Michigan State University didn't handle this in the right way?
I have not seen one thing yet.
Joel Ferguson is vice chair of the MSU Board of Trustees and the first university official to sit down for an on-camera interview since the Nassar scandal broke.
But if Coach Klages was told as early as 1997 about this and didn't do anything,
obviously
isn't the university at fault?
I wouldn't say that at all. That's a bad decision she made. And it has to be stretched to us by all the folks who are chasing ambulances because there's no payday by her.
If this was his daughter, his granddaughter, would he be saying the same thing? I doubt it.
The ambulance chasers, according to Ferguson, are attorneys like Graywall, who say evidence of MSU's carelessness is easy to find. In 2014, Nassar was investigated by the university after a complaint of inappropriate touching. School doctors with ties to Nassar cleared him, but the dean of the school's osteopathic medicine program required that going forward, Nassar needed to be chaperoned when treating patients in a sensitive area. But according to claims filed by several women, those chaperones were often nowhere to be found.
That particular trustee is trying to divert attention from MSU when MSU clearly enabled this.
There is also evidence that the school failed to act as quickly as it could to learn the extent of Nassar's potential abuses. He was fired by MSU back in September, the same time dozens of victims started to come forward. But it was only this month, on March 2nd, that athletic director Mark Hollis reached out to about 3,000 past female student athletes, asking if any had information about Nassar's alleged abuses. What took Hollis so long?
That's a direct question for Mark, not a thing. He doesn't need me to be a filter. You can ask him.
But Mark Hollis works for you, sir.
But that's the point. But that's something he did.
And as his boss, do you think he should have sent this letter months ago?
I'm not even going to. I'm very happy with Mark Hollis's performance here, the athletic director.
As MSU, if they wanted to do the right thing when they terminated Nassar, they could have sent that letter out then, but they waited.
Despite the evidence tonight that MSU could have acted sooner, Vice Chair Ferguson insists that when the school's investigation is all said and done,
MSU's going to look great. And MSU wants to get to the bottom of this also.
But if MSU wanted to get to the bottom of it, there were plenty of people, according to these victims, who could have.
Then we're
talking about the coach. We're talking about other doctors who say that they were told and they didn't do anything.
That'll play out.
Regarding why MSU waited until just this month to reach out to nearly 3,000 female athletes, well, a spokesman says the university had already kept alumni updated through media stories and posts to its website. We did ask to speak with athletic director Mark Hollis, but our request was declined. And late today, another MSU trustee reached out to me and offered a statement in response to our interviews with Nassar's accusers. It reads in part, "While I will not comment as a trustee due to the nature of this ongoing investigation, I will comment as a father with a daughter. It pained me yesterday to hear the victims. Rest assured, as a father and as a fiduciary of this great university, justice will be served.
Well, that was good to hear.
Keep it locked, the dial right here on the Team 92.1 FM. But I want to rewind a little bit just to give a brief snapshot on the Larry Nassar situation that we've been covering in detail. And this from Julie Mack, MLive.com. It's not the first time that Board of Trustee member Joel Ferguson has piped up with a comment that comes across like a lead balloon. It is ill-timed, it is, in my opinion, ill-mannered, and it shows a tremendous lack of connection to the dramatic impact that Larry Nassar, whether or not Michigan State is found to be held accountable, which, of course, David Middleman and other lawyers in this area, Jamie White, are currently representing young women in lawsuits that have the university named in a civil case. So I'm not here to render judgment on the university, but what I am going to say is that when Kate Hannum came forward, a member of the Michigan State University rowing team for 4 years, and she was treated by Larry Nassar. And in ways, looking back, when she talked about it with us exclusively here on the Schuling Report, that seemed to be borderline at the time, but your default position, I think, in a lot of cases here, and it's hard for me to relate to as a man, because I can't go into that doctor's office or whatever as a woman with those vulnerabilities and the different circumstances that exist there, gynecological exams, that I don't have to deal with that, obviously. But in Kate's case, this was pertaining to athletic injuries in her rib cage and thereabouts, and she mentioned the rough handling that Dr. Nassar, as he was then known, that we no longer refer to him really as that in this program, but that's what he was at the time, and that's the degree that he earned. Handled her roughly in her breast region and her buttocks region, and again, at the time, she kind of thought it was a little odd, even would have a couple of conversations with fellow student athletes. Hey, did you think this? Yeah, I kind of thought that too. And they kind of, well, all right, well, he's a doctor, and your default position, again, is to trust a person in that position. And Michigan State reinforced that position, at least as far as Kathy Klages was concerned, the gymnastics coach, and he did treat athletes from other sports that we know about, including the rowing team that Kate told us about. And there was an MSU softball player who departed, and we're being told by the lawyer representing her in a civil case out in California that she returned home to California because of something related to Nassar. So that's just the information that we have on hand. But when Joel Ferguson sat down with WXYZ Channel 7 in Detroit, and again, we're just getting snippets here. Jason and I, we looked for the longer form sound bites from the interview, but they're really just clips and excerpts. But this is the content that Julie Mack, again, MLive.com, has in her column for today, and that Joel Ferguson said that, quote, they want to get to the bottom of allegations that Nassar sexually abused patients for years while the university ignored red flags about his behavior. And then he adds, quote, MSU's going to look great. And he continues adding, quote, he has not seen one thing, unquote, that suggests the university has mishandled the controversy. Yeah, that might be. Michigan State may have done all the right things, everything that they could be expected to do within their power and control. That may be. But it should not distract from the fact that this happened on their campus to their athletes, and that should be the primary focus and concern. Not whether or not Michigan State comes out of this smelling like a rose or, quote, is going to look great. How can you be more tone deaf than that? Are you serious? Joel Ferguson, it comes across as being more concerned. Hey, our hands are clean. Those girls might have all been abused, fondled, and whatever, but at least it wasn't our fault. I mean, that's the vibe that is being transmitted here. By making a comment like that on the record and having it be, kind of sorted out by WXYZ, by Julie Mack at MLive, by yours truly here on the radio, you cannot present that image, that perception to this community, which has been rattled to its core by this Larry Nassar story and will continue to be as the facts of this case unfold. So the correct comment there, allow me to step into the PR chair once again, is to express concern and validation for the female athletes who were impacted by Larry Nassar. And we don't care how Michigan State looks in all of this. That's not our concern. And I say that as a lifelong Spartan fan. That's not the primary motivation here. Oh, is MSU culpable? Yes, no, no? Okay, then I don't care. It doesn't even matter. It does matter. It matters to the Kate Hannums of the world who were quick to come to me here and the members of the media that are willing to talk about this and give her a voice to say, look, the university has not even reached out to any of us, former student athletes at Michigan State, to express concern, to let us know they're aware of the situation, that they're handling it, and to get our thoughts and our input into what is going on. And they are still conducting a Title IX investigation. But when Kate Hannum has to come to this program to express that, and you might have noticed that Mark Hollis, some damage control, did end up contacting and sending out email communication to every one of these former female student athletes. But again, it's a day late and a dollar short. And then when you compound that with the insensitive kind of tone and tenor of Joel Ferguson and his remarks there, MSU's going to look great. Well, you know what, Joel? MSU's not going to look great out of any of this. Best case scenario, they're going to be found not liable and not culpable. But it doesn't change the fact of the matter, in that Nassar was on campus. He conducted a lot of these examinations and procedures. They were signed off on by Kathy Klages and the gymnastics coach there because she believed in him. I mean, at the very minimum, that has to be acknowledged. He was enabled and empowered on Michigan State's campus to do what he did. It might not have been a conscious thing, but again, the underlying assumption here, if you're Kate Hannum, if you're one of these other female student athletes at Michigan State, is he's a doctor, he knows what he's doing, he works for USA Gymnastics, Kathy Klages signs off on him. I mean, all of these endorsements lead us down a path of he couldn't possibly have nefarious motives, but he did. And even Michigan State acknowledges that in their statement that President Simon released in referring to him and trying to distance themselves, the university, from Nassar himself personally. So when all this comes to light and Joel Ferguson expresses that he hasn't seen one thing that suggests the university has mishandled the controversy and that MSU is going to look great, does that not strike you as odd, listening right now, that a board of trustee member would come out and his first concern is, this is how Michigan State's going to look coming out of this? No voice. No mention of, we are deeply concerned about the impact on any one student athlete, let alone many that were impacted negatively, severely, and otherwise by Larry Nassar during his time here. We're going to get to the bottom of it, and we're going to root it out. And we're going to do everything in our power to make sure that nothing like this ever happens again. And if it does, it'll be dealt with more swiftly, more severely, more certainly than how we handled it here over a 20-year span from 1997 to when he was fired. So those are my thoughts on Larry Nassar and the case at the moment. And again, I think less is more here from Michigan State. Public comments. Not sure if President Simon or if Mark Hollis are happy with Joel Ferguson and him coming forward with such a comment, but I wouldn't be. These are very uncertain times at Michigan State. And the last thing you need is to have somebody in that prominent of a position come out and make these sort of kind of pot shot comments and just kind of, again, well, Michigan State's going to look great. No, they're not. The great's not an option here. Very bad is one option. They're going to look very bad, or maybe a neutral outcome for Michigan State. But again, these things happened, and they happened at MSU under their purview, and Larry Nassar was allowed to do what he did, somehow, some way. Neglectful, negligent, perhaps. That's still to be determined.